The global landscape shifted 6 months ago. Bombings began in Ukraine. Russia troops closed in on major cities. The world was called to act as Russia tried to take over and reclaim Ukraine. That siren has become a very familiar sound. It is the country's raid warnings. It alerts citizens to an impending attack. It became a daily reality for millions. Well, thousands have died on each side of the war. Millions have fled Ukraine, creating a major humanitarian crisis across the globe. Ukraine instituted martial law. Men age 18 to 60 are barred from leaving. Day after day, Ukrainians are forced to defend their homeland. Well, Ukraine also is celebrating its Independence Day today. It is something that means so much more this year as Russia has been trying to take that independence away from them. President Zelensky and his wife attended a prayer service to mark the occasion. Ukrainian refugees marched all over Europe to celebrate their country's independence. This parade shows people moving through the streets of Berlin. One refugee says today is about sending a message to Russia.
It's important for us to show that we are independent and just to highlight it and to remind why there are so many Ukrainians and half of them don't really want to be here. And she also wants to go back. She's from Kharkiv, this girl, and she really wants to go back home. And yeah, so that's why we're here.
Ukraine got its independence from the Soviet Union 31 years ago. It can be hard sometimes to understand why this war is impacting us here at the U.S. It's, on the other side of the world, but we deal with its impacts every single day. Higher prices at the grocery store, threats to our cybersecurity, a whole lot of your tax money. We're going to dig into each one. The way that you've probably felt the war's impact the most, food prices. Russia and Ukraine export about a third of the world's grain. When their ports got shut down, prices everywhere went up because supply dropped.
These are global markets. So a disruption in one country is going to disrupt the global market for this commodity. Any impacts on prices and availability that you're going to see are going to spill over to U.S. markets, and that's clearly already happening.
Experts say until the war ends, expect those elevated prices to continue. Now, the war in Ukraine also generated some cybersecurity concerns. The United States levied a lot of sanctions against Russia. Experts fear that Russia could retaliate with a cyber attack in the U.S. The country shored up its systems, but the threat still remains, and a lot of that comes from user error.
It's usually, and I'm sorry to put it so bluntly, it's usually human error. We're not as smart as technology. Technology advances new generations every year. We're on human brain 1.0, and human error is almost always a major cause of major breaches.
He says we all need to step up our game when it comes to cybersecurity. Now, the White House says the government will send more relief to Ukraine, this time almost $3 billion. That is the largest aid package yet. The United States has now sent more than $10 billion worth of weapons and equipment to Ukraine. The money comes from a $40 billion package that Congress approved several months ago. U.S. officials have made it clear they do not want to intervene with force, but they also feel it's necessary to support as much as they can. So many people from around the Triad have pitched in to try and help Ukrainians. A dance studio in Greensboro sponsors families so that they can stay here in the U.S. It's through the federal Uniting for Ukraine program, allowing Ukrainian citizens to come to the U.S. for 2 years under certain conditions. It's something the families don't take for granted.
It's very difficult. We have family, we have mother, father, sisters, and maybe we are lucky to have the opportunity to be here.
The Triad's relief efforts have taken them to Europe as well. Samaritan's Purse has a team on the ground providing supplies and medical aid.
There is some danger, but that's not going to stop you from doing what we do, because everything we do, there's always an element of danger, because we're working in storms, we're working in war areas, places where there's just upheaval, and that's just part of the job.
Samaritan's Purse recently bought a second plane that will be in service later this year to do even more work around the globe. All right, so that's everything that is happening here back in Ukraine. It is a country full of people just trying to get back to normal life, even as the war rages on. 6 months after the bombings began, soccer returned to Ukraine. It's giving a major boost to national pride.
Ukraine is back in the game, with soccer players taking the field for the first time since Russia invaded their country. An injured Ukrainian soldier helped kick off the match at the Olympic Stadium in Kyiv. Still under threat of attacks, no fans are allowed, and athletes will rush to bomb shelters if air raid sirens sound. This coach says soccer is the thing that moves emotions in Ukraine and touches those who are fighting for us all. While professional soccer hasn't been played in the country since February, Ukrainian athletes still competed in matches around the world. Their victories celebrated even on the front lines. Some teams are missing from the league that just restarted, including clubs from Mariupol and Desna Chernihiv, whose cities have suffered brutal destruction. This player says some people are forgetting about the war in Ukraine. We must use these games to remind people the war isn't over yet. This match ended in a draw, but with one goal achieved, a fighting spirit on and off the field.
It certainly feels promising to see Ukraine try to get something back to normal. The reality remains, though. Every day the war rages on. Peace talks have really gotten nowhere. The country has done all it can to fend off Russian advances. As the war continues, we'll be here to dig into all of the developments.